What's up, my crypto people? How are you doing? What will stop you losing money into the crypto space? I will talk about some basic fundamentals that will set you up for greatness. We can see on CoinMarketCap, Bitcoin is hovering around 102k, Ethereum at 3200, XRP down to $3, and Solana at $227. Let's see what Bitcoin is doing on the hourly time frame. On TradingView, we can see we have the red ribbons here expanding, so probably Bitcoin will be going down further. Also on market cipher down here, we see we've printed the red dot. We can also see the money flow is going down. It's sloping a little bit up here, so either sideways or maybe even further down. But let's see what Bitcoin will be doing on the daily time frame. There we can also see that Bitcoin printed a red candle, and down here on market cipher we can see the money flow, that green wave also going down, so either sideways or a little bit further down. But don't panic, probably will be hovering between 100k 105k. We can see the 200 moving average is still going up, so I think it needs to catch up a little bit with Bitcoin, and then from there on I think we're off to the races. If we're looking at the crypto bubbles, we can see the effect that Bitcoin is down at the moment, almost everything in the red, so that's not something strange to see. So how do you stop yourself from losing your crypto, losing money into the crypto space? Let's talk about gold. So gold is being mined, and we all consider gold to be a scarce asset, since people have to go into mines and mine it and do effort to get that gold. If we were to be in the desert, I have that bottle of water and the other person has that sack of gold. Normally a bottle of water, I live here in the Netherlands, so it would be like 10 cents. But at that moment, if we are in the desert, it becomes worth all the gold that is there at that moment, just to preserve our lives. So that's a good comparison to show you what makes things valuable. If it's scarce and people want it, that drives the value up. Bitcoin is like a piece of code distributed on several computers. I will talk about that in another video. And that piece of code needs to resolve an equation, and each time an equation is resolved, there's some Bitcoin coming into existence. It's just like the gold. When we're mining gold, Bitcoin does that electronically by resolving difficult equations. Each time it resolves an equation, if you look for example at epoch 1 here, in each epoch, so epoch 1 until 6 is like a time frame of 4 years. So in epoch 1, and a little bit down here we can see it's 2008 to 2012, and 2012 to 2016, and so on. So 4 years each time. So in the first epochs, when the equation was resolved, 50 Bitcoin came into existence. And those 50 Bitcoins, those form a block. So that's why we call it the blockchain. And each block is like one row in an Excel sheet. In an hour, on average, 20 blocks are created. Every 4 years, we have something that we call the halving, that makes those equations become more difficult. So it's created in a way that it cuts the amount of Bitcoin that can come into existence into half. So we can see epoch 1, we had 50 Bitcoin each block. If we are going to the next epoch in 2028 to 2032, then it gets cut in half again, and then we can only have 1.5625 Bitcoin per block into existence. And if you would look for example at big companies like BlackRock, we can see that they're buying sometimes 1,000 Bitcoin per day. So if you would look at, for example, epoch number 6, if you would calculate how many Bitcoin could come into existence per day, it's 1.5 in a block of 20 blocks per hour. So that's around 30 Bitcoin per hour. And then times 24, it's around, let's round it off, let's say it's 750 Bitcoins per day. And sometimes BlackRock at this moment is already buying like 1,000 Bitcoin per day. That's only BlackRock. So if we go to Epoch 6 and BlackRock would buy 1,000 Bitcoin per day, that would mean they would buy, there wouldn't even be enough Bitcoin for them to buy if they're buying 1,000 Bitcoin per day. So that makes Bitcoin become very scarce. But because I'm only talking about BlackRock buying 1,000 Bitcoin per day, but there are several other companies, for example, like MicroStrategy, who is buying Bitcoin like crazy. And that's only the big companies. We're not even talking about you and me buying Bitcoin. This is another chart that also shows the halving. So these dotted lines are the halvings. We can see down here we have the years. So 2012, 2016, 2016, 2020, 2020, 2024. We can see the halvings. We can see that every 6 months Bitcoin tends to go higher. Here also halving. 6 months after that Bitcoin tends to reach its peak. Here also 6 months after that Bitcoin tends to reach its peak. But what we can also see, and that's something, is the life when something becomes a commodity, that the longer it is in existence, the lesser its multiplier goes up. So we could see that in the beginning, for example 2012, we could see after the halving Bitcoin went up like 92x, and here we can see it went up 30x, and now we can see it went up 8x. So in a sense we can also make a sort of calculation that from here to here we can see it was like 1/3, and then from here to here it was also 1/3. So probably this coming cycle it will also be 1/3 of the maximum of Bitcoin. So in a sense you can make sort of calculations what we can expect where Bitcoin will be going. And if we go to the Bitcoin rainbow, somebody made a sort of way how to put this into perspective. We can see here also that the first, let's say the 92x, the 30x, and then here the 8x. In this rainbow we can see that Bitcoin starts most of the time in this purple or blue range, then it goes up, peaks out, and then goes down again into the blue range, and then it also peaks up again those 6 months after the halving, then it goes down into the blue range, and then it peaks up again. And we can see that here it went past that red range. Here it was just below the red range. Here we went even into the orange range, and here we can see that probably we're also gonna stay like maybe just on the top of the yellow range. And if you look back here, it would set Bitcoin here somewhere between, if we put it here somewhere, this is a logarithmic chart. So it could set Bitcoin between, let's say, 250 and even 500k. So if you look at this cheat sheet, there's something when it starts. So if we go back to this one, for example, Bitcoin is starting here and Bitcoin is in this blue range, where people start to be getting hope because Bitcoin bottomed out, as we call that in the crypto space. We have that part of hope where Bitcoin starts to go up, and then more people start to become optimistic, and then people start believing and start investing into Bitcoin. And then you have the moment of thrill because Bitcoin is going and almost peaking, and then you have the euphoria moment when Bitcoin is completely on its peak, and then we have like Bitcoin going down again. We have the first time it goes down, people have some sort of complacency where they think, oh, it's just going down a little bit, it will go up again, and then it goes down further. Then people start to get anxiety, what's happening? Bitcoin starts to go down, and then people start being in denial. No, it will be going up again, and then it goes down further. People start to panic, and then the whole cycle starts again here. So what a lot of people do is when they start here, they have a little bit hope, they're buying a little bit here, and then Bitcoin goes down again. And then when they're down here, people tend to sell all their Bitcoin which they have and get out of Bitcoin, having a bad experience of Bitcoin. Other people buy it over here, then Bitcoin goes down, they get scary, get their Bitcoin out, and then having a bad experience again. And that happens at a lot of places. So for example, if you bought it here and it goes down to here, people think, oh, I bought in here with my $200 and it becomes $100, let me get it out. And the way how you prevent this is to look at the broader scale. If you're into Bitcoin just for 1 or 2 weeks, probably you will be losing money. But because when you buy Bitcoin, for example, here and it goes down to this point, you're getting scared and you get out of Bitcoin. But if you look at it as the big picture, and I think the people who are into Bitcoin to get a quick buck, they won't like what I'm going to say. But if you're in Bitcoin, you should be in Bitcoin for at least those 4 years to at least complete the complete cycle. Because if you look at this, for example, if you start here in the middle of a cycle like this and you buy Bitcoin here, maybe it goes a little bit down, but 4 years later, you know you're almost here on the top. Or maybe even if you bought here on this top, it's going down, because if you, for example, had your $200 and it got to $100, maybe even $50, and you get scared and you get out, you've lost your money. But if you stayed in, then you would see 4 years later that you're far much higher than when you bought your Bitcoin. So for example, from here to here, your $200 that you invested is maybe even $1,000 already, because it's like 5x from here to here. It's not exactly that, but I'm just naming that as an example. So what people tend to do is just for a short time buy it here, 2 months later get scary, oh, I lost almost all of my money, let's get it out, and they have that bad experience. They don't want to come back to Bitcoin anymore. But it's a way of looking at it at the big picture. Just so zoom out. If you are here to make money, you have to look at the longer time frame for at least 4 years, and probably even 8 years or more, or maybe even more than that. And if you invest in Bitcoin over a time frame of 8 years or maybe 12 years, it's almost 99% for sure that you will be making some money into the crypto space. The only catch is that the longer this goes further, we get more adoption, and the more adoption there is, the lesser Bitcoin tends to peak and go really high. We've already seen that example that I've shown, that first it was 92x, then 30x, then 8x. And probably the next halving it will be like 3x, and that halving after that 4 years later it will be maybe even almost 1. So at that moment, if it's 1, it's pretty probably will be going horizontally. So that's the way how you should be looking at the Bitcoin, not to lose any money again. So what I did, I started like 10 years ago or something like that, and I've accumulated as much as I can, and I've seen that this has been working for me. So if we look, for example, at this chart, I try to buy a lot of times when we're down here. So looking at this chart, I know that when Bitcoin goes into this blue area, I start buying Bitcoin, and then when it starts to trend up, I stop buying, and then when it goes down again into this blue area, I start buying again. And then I know that each time 4 years passes, I know I'm accumulating, I'm building generational wealth so that my portfolio keeps growing. And if you're someone who says, no, I want to have a lot of money within 2 weeks, then success with that then, sort of, because it's very difficult to do it that way. There are some possibilities with, for example, meme coins, but meme coins are sort of a casino. It's a wild west. But I would say invest for long term, and then put some small amounts in some high risk coins which are not Bitcoin, and then see if you can generate some income from that. But just put only, like, let's say if you're responsible, not more than 5% of your portfolio into those sort of meme coins which are like a casino, and try building your wealth on the long term. If you do that, it's almost for certain, for 99% certain, that you won't be losing money but only will be accumulating wealth. Let's hear what Tom Lee has to say about this, since he is a very experienced financial advisor.
You said we're going to 100,000. I said, when are we getting to 100,000? What did you see? Where is Bitcoin 1 year from now?
You know, Bitcoin 1 year from now, I think is something around 250,000.
Okay. So it's early then. If you could buy a stock at 10 and you know, in a year it could trade to 25, that's a pretty good investment, right?
Yeah, very good. But knowing that it is hyper volatile,
Right. People don't like the volatility, I understand.
Yeah, Mark Newton, our technician, thinks that the cycle of Bitcoin turns a little bit down early next year, so maybe Bitcoin gets to the 60s. 60s before 250.
Yeah, I could see that.
So you've heard it from Tom Lee himself. So we're expecting Bitcoin to go around 250k this year. So that would be the peak of Bitcoin. 250k, maybe even higher. Some other people are speculating, but nobody knows exactly. But if you do dollar cost averaging in, that was what I was explaining. So when Bitcoin gets into that blue area, blue purple area of that rainbow chart, and you keep on buying, then if you've implemented that strategy, at this moment you would have 815% gains from all of that dollar cost averaging in. So in that way you're lowering your cost, lowering your risk, and getting a high reward, because 815% is a huge gain if you compare that, for example, to normal stocks and stuff like that. So I would say, if you're into Bitcoin, be into Bitcoin for the long term, more than 4 years, 8 years, maybe even 12 years. And I also understand that people tend to want to get a quick buck. I also would like to have a lot of money instantly, but it doesn't work like that. So try looking at the horizon and then working dollar cost averaging in, building your generational wealth, and in the end you will be profitable. Let's take into account that money isn't the most important things in our lives. I think the most important things are the people around you. So share some love with people around you. Money is just a way of interchanging stuff with each other, and use it to make people happy. So I hope you learned something from this video and enjoyed it. So please give me a like, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and help this channel grow. The more it grows, it also inspires me to come up with better and better content. But I've enjoyed this, and let me know what you found about this video in the comments. So like, subscribe, get the vibe, and as always, I'm out.